So, in Trump v. the Water Resource Board, Michigan v. the EPA, Scheifele v. 3 Mile Trump v. Hawaii, New Air Pistol and Rifle, Columbia, Walker v. the FCC, Michigan v. the EPA, 3 Mile Island v. Scheifele, Honest 4 v. DTE, and applications of Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe Rail Corporation v. the United States, 1920, and via Trump v. the Water Resource Board. In 17317, 13608, and 13612, I can ask questions to executive sections of the Control Act of 1974, Section 3.2 of the Congressional Budget. I have questions to SB 901 in view of the state of Michigan being 2 states, Washington, D.C., Puerto Rico, Sonoma Islands, and UN Order 2826, Tijuana running as a country versus state in view of Guam compared to the military base. When the military swear in view of elections, 2 USC 622 note amended the Omnibus Budget Regulation Act of 1990 under Publication 101-05 and viewed at content. Manhattan General Equipment Company versus the Commissioner of Internal Revenue, and Health Insurance Association of America v. Shalal, and versus Office Personnel Management. Donald John and the federal applications and the federal OMB models and the Government Accountability Office. I could challenge the application of my name and Blade v. Thayer in view of the House of Essex and the House of Normandy creates the House of Essex and the House of York creates the House of Normandy. House of Normandy is the throne of England. And U.S. Civil Procedure Code, Article 35, subsection 1.d. In discretion, the court may also grant a motion accompanied by a clear and convincing medical documentation that concludes that one of the parties suffers from an illness or condition arising substantial medical doubt of survival of the party beyond 6 months. I don't understand my own drug use, my own life suit, and apostrophe I acquit and view of negligence and the 9/11 to Mike's lying. When this is a party of attorney, Belinsky Gorbachev can run for office of the redistricting. Frank and Betty are the neighbors. Now, when that is wondered in view of rubidium, helium, hemoglobin, iodine, dercidium, selenium, vanadium, nenium, nihonium, pentan, triatha, lanthanum, selenium, hexapentan, iodine, hexacarbon, hexanophene, nihonium, triatha, hexaurite, vanadium, hexaglendin, nihonium, triatha, hexauracil. Now, if that's a subatomic, the helium, hexane, vanadium, iodine, nihonium, pentan, triatha, hexafluoride can be fully weaponized. Now, if I'm going to ask this as the same wonderment as the water standard is on Hawaii, in view of the 9th, 4th, and 10th, and 11th Circuit, you wouldn't have this Chad Wolf's testimony, or Jim Ima, or Massey Hiroshima, Dick Durbin. This would be your content wonder in Hawaii, in view of negligence, in view of volunteer firefighter and Hatch and view the Brown Act. If this was a question and model assessment under 71269 in view of the NEA-IEA under the NRC, telling the Chinese government at COP26 when a 5.7 hits a nuclear power plant isn't good enough. Same way as wondering Peru during federal deposition when the president his family hangs up. Now, when this is wondered in view of negligence, Donald John, you don't understand that. In view of Cuba compared to Thailand in developmental applications of the design and Citizens Unite. Now, unless the provision of context otherwise require a reference in a statute of judicial districtment, HCY, the C. They take them as a betting against me, but not no composition. Tesla and Open Radio, hydro farms, in view of legalization. See that instead of asking Cuba, Taiwan, or now in the view, the island off of Michigan and Lake Michigan, Superior. And I asked that compared to Hawaii. I want to hear this. That's open as your. Now, Donald, if we are showing negligence to you, upon granting the motion of preference pursuant to subdivision B, the party on action based upon health provider alleged professional negligence. In the House called in Niger, asexual gram-negative bacteria doesn't become gram-positive. Don't ask COVID-AIDS patients. I asked 28 human bubonic plague, 9 subspecies. 1 year talking to the Chief Justice, and that is noted even by the Chief Justice. And the model in year 2, 3, and 4 in any language. I put the letter of indenturement into my pocket and asked for warm water. Tell him he's tone deaf in the chink. Don't bow, don't shake hands, and eat meat. In the view of the state, upon granting the motion of preference pursuant to subdivision B, roll call Niger. If you're asking any IEA standards, Military Command Code 48637, Mach 50 USC, and Mesa View, Arizona, to Jane Doe. I'm not showing time to in view of foreign policy. Joe Biden, presidential question to Xi Jinping, and say that the view of the nuke, Molly Palma was granted to the COP26 summit is seen. Now, this is model assessment. The date is identified the same way as a nuclear power plant at a 5.7 to the Chinese government. Now, if this is rubidium, helium, hassium, oxypent, and triethylhexaurite, Government Acquisition Code of Conduct does indicate that I can ask the Office of the Library questions as a family member to negligence. When this is transfetal, Kevin doesn't introduce me to his dad. He doesn't want to go to his grandkids. Doesn't even sign my birth certificate. Breezes your software goes back to a fireside chat, and when fireside chat, FDR still has my name. The Adams, Ayers is Milton Freeman, and I can show 2 more names that go back. There's 10 presidencies between the Eldon Andersons, the Thayer Hecker, and the family in one bloodline. The Adams are on the Ford, so I can prove a legitimately 7 with one generation. Now, National Association of Regional Council versus Coastal and New York Airways Inc. v. the United States. If the Airways was under the National Vehicle, Mike, hey, we can't talk about your radio broadcast to the Bushes. The nice lie. I still have the radio broadcast from prime ministers that say the weekend after it, and want to how Palpatine bin Laden soon. Compared to the poker face, compared to the Osama. Mickey Mouse now understood. Asked for nuclear bomb the 3rd day he gave here. I can show the other 5 during Raoul and turn of the century. Now, if PCL Construction Service v. the United States, contract or sell is not an appropriation. Office of the Library is broke, cheap, doesn't do a job, and isn't responsible. It grants authority to enter a binding contract. In view of the offenses at the military base, we can't see that alcoholism, drug use, or fetal development. Not the funds to make payments under them. Congress must provide funds to satisfy the contractual obligations. My obligations, the Federal Reserve, is that my application to twist by making a subsequent proposal called a liquidating appropriation. Would my liquidation be a state versus country? What about military admiral generals, Donald? What about Native American Chief Justice to appellate? Never not asked by DJT and view it the same way taxes. That wouldn't be a question the same way as asking DJT Incorporated in view of bankruptcy to interview Jimmy and Ruth Bader in view of appellate nominees compared to Supreme Court. And create research for the United States. Federal disclosure and coastal indicates this period is available refers to the time period during which the contract must be entered into. Would that be my election in view of that? Now, if this is wonder to the uses of the nuclear bomb, no letter and reading it in Korean, Mandarin, Cantonese, Spanish, or French, Italian, no taking a picture of it, no putting it at my hotel across from Washington, D.C. It takes until 6 months for the members of my cabinet to have seen it after the new presidency. And we don't understand that the same way as asking a view of the vice president compared to his family members. Now, if this was wondered in view of the Christmas present, compared to in view of child pornography, you can watch gay porn more than you can Google search the images. If that is not a question, in 42 USC, the Environmental Special Fund, Military DOJ, application to fiscal laws, government composition. I have a January 6th riot, how you see open radio to Azure. Judge Breyer, the question to public debt financing, horticultural application and asymmetric information. I Ashcroft, I acquittal, and say chief judges the month after compared to the family, and ask that in English compared to Spanish overseas. And say Frank and Betty Blader Bobulinski Gorbachev. And say that with Bahara. You still haven't named the after Gorbachev's fall. I can show you home visits where Bernard talks to him with Grandpa. Not in view of Mike. Now, if this is those type of questions, and I can show locations, that's not important enough in view of the state. Now, when Mike wonders that compared to Kevin, that's not the military versus college, and that view. And when that's getting current, I don't understand. The authorization, appropriate process, and contra, formula, rules, and information practice, 29 USC federal budget policies and procedures. If my procedures wonder, Trump be the Water Resource Board, Ways and Means Committee, Foreign Affairs, NEA, IEA, the UN Supreme Court. I can't show judicial application and procedure code of compliance in view of the UN to statehood in Mexico. 3 out of the 5 presidential ran on it. Statehood in Washington, D.C., Michigan, Puerto Rico, Sonoma Island. I can't show the business design powering Cuba, Thailand, Norway, Sweden, what about Australia, and say how much of it. When this is wondered to Haiti, you understand presidential assassination request in view of negligence. Now, if this was modeled in view of validity, this isn't in Sweet B, the United States. One case explained that a different procedures arose for the sake of the convenience of the public service and the administration of the expense accounts and estimates of the government. You're justifying for debt fund, more horticultural elimination standard analysis. Impeachment orders 117, 153, 158, 163, and 168. If these were those type of questions in 31 USC 1104 and 1105, centralization authority of the formulation as the executive branch budget, and the president and the newly established Bureau of the Budget, now Office of the Management and Budget. Hey Jimmy, you're too cheap to see the statehood, and we see Stephen Brock, Bill Jr., Bush Jr. You can't see statehood, you can't see that to a border wall. You don't understand that shots that are paid by sales tax and see low income, electrical fences, and model. You don't understand that as compliant procedure in view of theoretical process application. National Federation of Federal Employees v. Cheney. If I was asking that Cheney to the Federal Act and not Ashcroft v. Iacol and Uber v. Waco compared to negligence. If that was the Water v. the Water Resource Board to use as the Supreme Court, why can't we see the letter at your hotel? Oh, there's Mom. Sorry. She's sleeping on the couch, Mom. She's sleeping on the couch. Yeah.
Okay, so I'll leave the door open so she wants to come in.
Alright.
Can you turn the radio down?
Yes, Mom. Office of Accounting of the Government Accountability 31 years. Yes, I will. I got it. Yes, Mom. If the Accountability Office is asking the biggest COVID AIDS patient country's president, what about the 28 human bubonic 9 subspecies? What about that the water supply? What about electrician and water generation? The salt and coagulation and kerosene and plastic have out in outer space. Now, if the Congressional Budget Office 2 USC 601, what happens if you're going to say, so what we kill the House and the Senate in view of the same way as that for the date one? There breezes your scans as one. You understand power affiliation, no? Now, if this was the same way as that as questions, I I backdoor spending, party identification. I don't care what side of election in view of the amount of humans that will die because of the use of a nuclear bomb. When that's wondered instead of bowing and shaking hands. Now, if that was the question in view of procedural applications, that is not developmental appropriations in view of the Supreme Court. Now, if this was my challenge, I don't have accountability viewpoints in 2 USC 65C.2, which defines spending authority as the authority providing laws other than appropriate acts to obligate the United States to make payment. If that's my Congressional Act of 1974 in Hatch-Brown, I have that in my interest rate. What happens if I'm showing that to nuclear power plants in China to location? What about the lob of wonderment to the French? And say the G8, G20 summit, and say credit default application. And the Frank Gown asks that as a questionable wonderment. In view of the start, that wouldn't be your present question. No, that's not how you'd see asking systematic. In Tennessee v. Lane, United States v. Sharpnet, in view of Hershey Food Corp. Department of Agriculture, statute of evidence a clear congressional intent to incorporate by reference the reference material, but specifically assertability from the face of the legislative language. What happens to my legislative is I don't care about partisan politics. But what happened in Washington is a good, okay thing, and just like so is 9/11. Well, weaponized AIDS is a beautiful thing. If this was asking instead of reading the thing to how much of the insult, the date of the vice president compared to the rest of the members of the same way as the first day assessment. Upon when you do your re-election, you're supposed to move one of the 27. Shouldn't that be an augmented question in view of the vote? What happens if that's the whole 5 hours? Can't find more than 7 to 12 minutes of it. But we can't ask that to the General Society in view of election. Judge Breyer. May I shall open up position as a solicitor in view of the state. In view of Colorado River Basin v. 3 Mile and Hawaii, may this be independent application of the state.